Um,
Okay.
yeah. So, okay, welcome, Dr. Emma. And we're going to be, I don't know if there's any introduction. As I said, this is informality, but if you like, you can introduce yourself. Um, and or we can just get into the conversation and then
I
see how it
think
flows.
I think I think some introduction will do us good. You
Okay,
never know where you never know where this will end up.
okay,
Let's go. Dr. Lemonde Efiabo,
okay,
medical doctor from Cameroon.
okay, great. And
So
yeah, my name is Anya Den Warren, and I my background is in engineering and partly biomedical science. So we're going to have a conversation today on in general, I should call it the problem of evil or the problem of suffering. So the problem of evil is a problem um that acts, it's like the question is for the human experience in general, we know that people go through pain. A woman gives birth to a child, and at 1 year old, that child has cancer, bone marrow cancer. We know of things like Down syndrome, and we know that people lose loved ones and everything. So the problem of evil is asking the question, why do people go through suffering? It's a big question, and it's a
a
big
big
problem.
question.
Yes, it's a big problem. Why suffering? Because suffering is a problem. I don't think anyone would like to go through pain and suffering. So, as someone coming from an engineering background, my question is, if there is a designer, why would someone choose to design such a system or such a universe and populate it with agents that can inflict suffering or that can go through suffering? Could there be a different way to design this universe such
The
that,
system.
yes, to design the system such that we do not have this suffering and everything? So, but I want to start from just getting maybe you can just say a little bit about um sickle cell anemia and a genetic mutation, and how maybe you can talk a little bit because of your background and talk a little bit about how just a single mutation could lead to just one single mutation could lead to devastating consequence in an organism, and why is it's so important that people know in terms of know their genetic makeup with regards to sickle cell before getting married. Just some slight sensitization there, then we can lead to evil.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, if you take a look at it, you realize that medicine is now, well, not medicine alone, but science is more advanced today than the way it was in the past. Now, we know a lot more about sickle cell anemia, more than the way we used to do in the past. In fact, before I even explain what it is, I want to touch a bit on the point of suffering. Why suffering? Well, to me, I don't have a good answer as to why people have to suffer, why all this suffering. I think we'll be able to elaborate more on what we can do about the suffering. How can we make it better? How can we survive with all the suffering? No, I'm not. To me, I don't think asking the questions why, trying to explain the reasons. Maybe one day we'll find good reasons, but it's best to focus on how to fix it. If you understand the suffering, the pain, you'll be able to deal with it. Maybe prevent it.
Yeah.
You understand? Now, you want to interrupt? You want to say
Yeah, I just
something?
wanted to say the point, maybe you were talking about why the point I was raising to go back, perhaps I'm trying to understand the source of it. So the whole idea is, like in this case, is the problem analysis. Because
Okay.
if you understand the problem, that means you understand the intricacies of the problem, where the problem is coming from, the details of the problem. then you can now design a solution for that problem. But if you do not understand the problem you're trying to solve, you're basically designing the wrong solution and it's not going to get you anywhere. So perhaps that's maybe why I'm trying to look at the whole, maybe I asked it in a different way, but that's why I'm trying to look at it from there.
Okay, I'm going to start with a little bit of background. We know that we normally come from our parents, a father, a mother. And normally we usually share genes between them. We have genes from, half of our genes normally come from our father, half from our mother. Now there are genes that genes for almost everything we have in our body. But concerning our blood, our red blood cells, they contain hemoglobin. Now, concerning the gene that codes for that hemoglobin, if during the developmental stages, during the coding for this protein, because the hemoglobin is actually a protein within the red blood cells, and we know the role it helps us to transport hemoglobin, to transport oxygen from blood gases. So actually, during the information, the genetic code for these proteins, sometimes you can have errors on it, and that's the case with this sickle cell disease. Actually, because if you look at the protein is like a mirror. It's like a symmetric protein. So you have two halves like that. It's like you can have, let's say, two halves like that. So and both of them are kind of opposite to each other. So you have like an alpha and a beta, something like that. So this error occurs in the beta half of this. So in the code, when the code was being written, okay, or being formed, there was an error at actually one spot. So you had just one amino acid being missed, but replaced for another one. But it turns out this error was actually costly because the whole hemoglobin molecule formed at the end of the day was having a problem. Well, it has a problem. You understand? Now, concerning this, I'm just going to explain what we know about this. Concerning this, we know that when we have this error, the case of sickle cell disease, these proteins become abnormal, these hemoglobin proteins become abnormal. And the peculiarity of them is that they form abnormal shapes. They tend to stick together in conditions where there is not enough oxygen. And when they do like that, they make the red blood cells carrying these kind of proteins to have a particular shape, actually like a sickle, like a small curved shape like that. And when these cells have this particular shape, there's a greater probability for them, or there's a higher chance for them to stack together now. Imagine plates. If they're flat, if they're completely flat, the chances for them to be stacked together are less compared to if they're curved, like you're gonna stack a higher number. Well, it's a bit like that. They have a higher chance of sticking together, especially in conditions where the amount of oxygen is not very much. And this can actually be problematic because, as we know, blood vessels, they don't like to be occluded. They don't like to be blocked. So if these abnormally shaped red blood cells carrying these defective hemoglobin are actually getting clumped together, they can actually block the various blood vessels all over the body. And that's where the problems with sickle cell come into place. I don't know whether we are following.
Okay.
So far, any questions? This is what the science.
Yeah.
This is what we have found out. This is what we understand about the sickle cell disease.
Okay.
Yes.
So
any comments?
yeah, I think okay, that's good. I mean, you're going quite technical, but I think that's good because what I also wanted to ask with regards to maybe you can just talk a little bit with regards to how if a family finds out that they have a child that is sickle cell that has sickle cell anemia, what some tips on how they could manage it, and also if there is a way to prevent, like there are some tests that couples are advised to carry out before getting married. So Maybe you can just spend 1 or 2 minutes to address that, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Okay. I'll actually start with knowing how to prevent a sickle cell. As we said, it's a mutation. It's like an error during formation. So you cannot really avoid it. Mistakes happen. They're unpredictable. But there's some measures you can take to prevent it. First thing first, if you notice that there is a sickler, or a sickler is someone who has sickle cell disease, if you notice that it's a sickler in your family, now, even if you don't know, there are measures you can take. There are some tests that you can do, like the hemoglobin electrophoresis. It's actually they're going to get your blood, try to find out the type of hemoglobin molecules that you have in your blood cells. And you can actually find out if you have the abnormal hemoglobin, because everybody has, like we said, you have two versions of genes, meaning that you should one from your father, one from your mother, meaning that there is a chance for you to have the abnormal ones. But before I really talk about it, I need to mention that this how is the sickle cell disease being transmitted? It's actually a recessive gene. The gene that codes for the sickle cell hemoglobin is actually a recessive gene. Recessive means it's not dominant. Since normally in the human body we have two pairs of genes, one from your father, one from your mother.
Yeah.
Sometimes you express most only the one from one of your parents. Sometimes you express both.
Yeah.
With the case of a sickle cell, it's a recessive gene, meaning that how can I explain it? Well, if you have if you have two pairs, for example, a defective pair and a defective gene and a normal gene.
Yeah.
Actually, the normal gene is dominant, while the recessive gene is recessive, meaning that if you have both versions of the genes, maybe one defective one from one parent and one normal one from the other parent, you actually express the normal one.
Yeah.
So the only case where you'll be problematic is if you have two defective copies.
In a homozygous way. Yes.
Yes. So we can do some tests to find out if people have some of these recessive genes. Okay. So imagine I want to get married today. I'll go to get my blood, find out if I have the recessive genes or I have just the normal ones. So generally, the test results will look like this. They'll tell me that, okay, I have the two genes are there. Either both of them are the normal ones, or one of them is normal, the other one is abnormal, or both of them are abnormal. In that case, if both of them are abnormal, I'll have the disease. I'll have the symptoms and everything. If just one is effective, I might not have the disease, I might not have the symptoms, and all because the other one is dominant. But I can transmit that recessive gene, that abnormal one, to my children. So it's really advisable for people, anybody, whether you have a sickle in your family or not, to do the hemoglobin electrophoresis test. It's going to help us find out if you have this gene in your blood or not, or if you have this abnormal hemoglobin molecules in your blood or not. It's going to help you, your partner, to know in advance if there's a possibility for you to have the recessive gene. Actually, if for example me, I'm a carrier, one of my genes is defective, the other one is normal, and same thing with my partner. There's actually a 1 in 4 chance that my children, one of my child is going to have the sickle cell disease. Meaning that, well, I think when I say the self-explanation, meaning that it's a 1 in 4 chance that if my wife is pregnant right now, she'll have a child who come out with the two defective copies. So you can see that's actually like a 25% chance and a 75% chance that it will not be like that. And in that 25%, there's actually a 50% chance that our child are going to be carriers like us, meaning that we'll have one copy of the defective gene, one that is normal, and another 25% chance that the child will come out without any of the defective genes. And this is the
Okay.
case for every single pregnancy, meaning that you can already start preparing yourself psychologically. So, okay, no, at least there's a chance that my child will be sickler. Or in the case where if both of us have normal genes, there's almost no chance that we'll have this disease.
Okay.
So that's one way. That's one way to anticipate. Remember, it's a game of chance here, so you cannot really prevent. If you have the genes, there's always a chance that you transmit to your children.
Transmit. Okay.
Now that also measures you can take early in the pregnancy. Now it depends on the environment where you find yourself in. But typically, early in the pregnancy, when it reaches an age at which we can actually go in there and get the baby's blood.
Yeah.
We can actually do that and get it. In fact, before even the baby develops and become a fully formed baby, we go in there, get his blood and test and actually see if this baby has the defective hemoglobin or not.
They say,
You can
okay.
test like that and see that it's a sickler. And then you yourself decide that, okay, I cannot really keep this. I don't want, in that case, you choose to terminate. But of course, it depends on the laws of where you are.
Yeah, the different ethical implications. Okay, that was quite elaborate.
But even if you don't choose to terminate, you can prepare you psychologically.
Indeed.
To know that, okay, this child coming, it can help you prepare yourself. Maybe you start getting resources, you start learning about the disease, start anticipating the birth problems you can have, and all the like.
Okay.
So this is like one of the preventive measures that you can take.
Yeah.
And how you can anticipate and manage. Well, so I think this is as far as it goes concerning prevention.
Yeah.
Of the sickle cell disease.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So I mean, you've talked about that, and also, just of course, we've already mentioned that because also the in terms of the genetic mutation, of course, there are different kinds of genetic mutation that can happen, different kinds of errors, and it's very possible that just a single mutation, a single misalignment, for example, of a codon, could lead to very devastating consequences and even deadly, fatal consequences in the organism.
Yes.
I mean, this sickle cell is an example, right? We could say this sickle cell is an example of such a case, and there could be other examples. So we've already seen that. So I think we can now maybe we can move on, and we can move on to sort of maybe the next part of it. The problem is, I think you mentioned something, but let's drill into it. As you were talking about the genetic mutation and all of that, you said errors happen. So these are errors and everything. And so my question is, these errors happen. So what is the source? What causes this? Is there, because I want us to lead this into the problem of suffering. So why do we have a system that has in it the possibility of error? And since we are getting into theological grounds now, there are individuals who claim that the human system is designed by a perfect intelligence, an all-knowing intelligence, super intelligence. And if such a super intelligence designs a system, then you would expect a perfect system.
Perfection.
So yeah, perfection. So from your point of view, you can address this from a scientific point of view, and from a theological, if you like. But why do we have a system that has in it the possibility of an error? Why not a perfect system without this error coming into place?
Okay. I'll first approach it from a scientific point of view. You see, the issue in mutations is that scientists have actually found out a couple of reasons why mutations occur. Before I start mentioning them, from a scientific point of view, most of the time we cannot explain why they occur. We believe they just occur spontaneously. But the majority of the causes or possible causes have to do with the environment. What am I talking about? I'm talking about everything around us. Okay, everything around us. First thing is radiation. Radiation. I think everybody knows what radiation is. Some radiations damage the genetic material. And when they are damaged, they end up having errors. Chemicals. That several chemicals have been identified that can actually cause genetic mutations like this. But generally, we have our environment that can influence these reactions, these processes, and all of that. So much so that are going to have errors. You see, it's not only up to humans. You see, take for example, a car that is perfectly made, just left the factory today. It can run for years without any problems. There's also a chance that it can come out of the factory with a small defect that people missed. So sometimes things can occur by chance. Sometimes they have direct causes. Maybe they can identify where the error came from. So it's a bit like that here. Now, for those who argue that, someone has created a system perfectly designed, normally those people are the best to come and to elaborate on these kind of things. But I believe that if I was to talk on their behalf, I also made the argument that we need those errors because it depends on the kind of system you want. If you want a perfect system, because if you look at the world is not a perfect place. There are errors everywhere, pain, suffering, as you said. If that was the goal of the creator, if you design your system to be like that, then of course it's going to be like that. But if is that somebody wanted perfection,
Okay.
wanted to create a perfect world, no errors.
It would require that you don't have such errors, right?
Voila. There'll be no such errors. Everything will be perfect. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It appears to be all random, meaning that you can have someone here like this, but just because maybe there was some radiation, some X-rays, maybe his progeny, his children develop terrible mutations. Some of the children can never survive. But if you just remove the radiation, there will be some other things. They get exposed to chemicals and all the like. Of course, the outcome can be different. So I believe it just depends on what influences things. So the whole idea of perfection, of creation, maybe someone created us, made us in our own image. If that's really the case, it means that that creator really did not want for us to be perfect. Because you will not only end a lot of sickle cell like this. What about those who died before they gave birth? Because some of these mutations occur and are not compatible with life.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
Are you with us?
Yeah, I think I had a glitch. But we have about a couple of minutes until this session ends. Maybe we can have one more session and then okay, that's well explained. So I'm because I'm looking at this, and for me it's easy. We humans, we find ourselves in a society, in a world where we have all kinds of organisms. We humans, we have our consciousness and everything. And it is the case that accidents do occur, and because of the complexities of living and everything. But I struggle to wonder why there are individuals who say that who try to explain away the fact that, because the question I always ask people, the people who say that there is a super intelligence, is how do you reconcile an all-knowing, all-powerful, the word they use is omniscient, omnipotent, super intelligence, and the fact that there is evil and suffering in the world, and all loving indeed. So if you have such a super intelligence that is all loving, all powerful, and then such a super intelligence allows for evil in the world, How do you reconcile that? And the response I get is the typical response of free will. So the question, the response is, this superintelligence created humans and impacted them with free will. They have the ability to choose left or right. And the question is, let's even assume, because the question on free will is another big philosophical question that is still going on. That's a different aspect. But let us assume that that is the case for free will. What about natural
occurrences?
Volcanic
Those who were
eruptions,
born.
floods.
Coming back to birth like this, what about those who were born with defects?
Exactly.
The people who are born with cancer. People born like that, and on the first day of life, they already have cancer. That has been developed in ever since. Others even died before they couldn't be born because of errors that took place.
Yeah.
What would you say for those? Will you say they had a free will to get cancer?
Yeah.
So I think that's not a very good argument, because there will always be cases where people are suffering, whereas they did not choose to suffer.
Okay.
You could say, okay, you blame those around you, but what about the cases that those around you had no influence? What will you say for cases like that?
Okay. So that is the thing. So let's just go to, can you just tell me your worldview with regards to God, with regards to superintelligence, and why you have that worldview based on all your experience and your understanding? Can you just and maybe you can link it up with the problem of suffering if you like, but maybe you talk a little bit about that. I think I'm not sure you'll be able to. We have just 2 minutes. If you can use 2 minutes, then we can start the next session.
2 minutes, I think it'll be small, but I'll just try to elaborate on it. I think it'll be small. Let's just wait next session.
Okay. So as
but I'll just throw some light. Light. I think it's fortunate for me that I was educated enough. I did sciences. I think that was a big plus for me, because it has changed my worldviews a lot. With science, I have a better understanding of what is happening around me. Meaning that I no longer need to attribute any single thing that happens to me to some creator, to God, or anything. If I understand that, okay, this pen is here because maybe someone moved it and put it here. I don't need I don't think there must be an external influence. Okay, maybe God influenced the person to do this, or God did it himself. No, not necessarily. But personally, I'm a realist. I believe in things that are real, things that have explanations. So if you really want to make me believe in something, it has to be real. But we know the characteristics of things that are real. Things that you can see, feel, touch. But most importantly, things that are logical, things that can be explained, reproduced. But if you cannot reproduce it, but it should be logical, it should have a good logical explanation. So personally, that's my point of view on everything. I don't believe in abstract things. But I was a Christian for a long period of time. But when I became a scientist, and it threw more light on explanation of things, logic, different ways to think. I think I kind of graduated. But so I think personally, that view, but I don't share that view that is a creator. Or if there was, that creator doesn't have a huge influence on us right now. Well, I think I've just summarized it in about a couple of minutes.
Yeah. So I will just
it's true.
It's true. Yeah.
It's true that we cannot do everything. There's things that we cannot do.
Yeah.
But it's not because of something else. It's simply because we probably don't have the capability to do. We don't know how to do it. For example, it doesn't